Hi there, my name's Gordon Hamilton and welcome to my new YouTube channel PhotoTube. It's a photography related channel. I'm going to be posting reviews on equipment I've used, plus general presentations and talks about anything photography related really. I'm an enthusiast going back to the early 80s. Started using initially the Canon FD system and then the Canon EOS film system and then Canon EOS digital, and then moving on to Nikon, the Nikon system about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm also invested up to a point in the excellent Fuji X system, so there may well be some reviews posted on Fuji equipment in due course. Right, okay, I'm going to kick my first video off talking about the Nikkor 28mm f2.8 AIS manual focus lens, not to be confused with other Nikon 28mm manual focus lenses. This one has the CRC or close range correction system combined with 8 elements in 8 groups. Right, what is CRC? Well, basically it's a mechanism that allows for floating elements within the lens group to optimize performance at any focal distance, be it at its closest focusing distance or at infinity or somewhere in between. First of all, I like to say I really like this lens. I feel it's one of the best lenses I own, and it's probably one of the finest lenses Nikon has ever made at any price. Okay, so why do I like it so much? Why is it so good? Well, firstly, unusually for a 28mm lens, it focuses as close as 22 centimeters, which will give you a maximum reproduction ratio of 1 to 3.9. Now, although that's not macro, it's heading that way and does focus usefully close. So it's a very useful lens for close-up photography. Particularly on DX format Nikon sensors, which I'll come to in a moment. This is a full frame lens, giving wide angle coverage on 35mm film and also on FX digital. But it is also equally useful on Nikon's DX format APS-C crop sensor cameras also, where it gives an equivalent focal length of 42mm. Now, 42mm may sound like an odd focal length to you. It's a bit below what is generally regarded as the standard focal length of 50mm equivalent. However, 50mm isn't really a true standard lens in that it will not give the most natural perspective. That would be a 43mm focal length. Now this lens at 42mm equivalent on DX sensors is very, very close to that. So perfect standard lens. Right, so an extremely useful lens rather, not camera, lens. Also, you mirrorless fans out there who are invested in the Sony system or the Fuji system or others, there are adapters available, and it will work very, very nicely on, for example, Sony mirrorless cameras. Right. So why do I love this lens so much? Well, apart from it being able to focus very close, it renders images extremely well. It's got really good micro contrast, which means the images pop. They don't look flat like you will often get, particularly on zoom lenses that have a very high number of elements in them. Basically, when you're designing a lens, you want the fewest elements possible that give you the image quality you need while controlling ghosts, chroma, chromatic aberration, etc. I'm pleased to report this lens does not suffer from chromatic aberration or chroma or ghosts to any significant degree at all, so no problems there. Now you may be wondering about sharpness. Well, no worries there. This is one of the sharpest lenses Nikon has ever made at any price. And that's pretty impressive if you consider all the fabulous lenses Nikon has produced over the years. Wide open at f2.8, it is nice and sharp right in the center of the frame. Reasonably sharp moving further away from the center. Only in the extreme corners will you find a bit of softness. But it's nothing to worry about. And by the time you stop down to f4, which is still quite a wide aperture, it's sharp right across the frame, even in the corners. A very impressive performance. In fact, this lens is so sharp that its sharpness is just starting to be limited by diffraction at f5.6. Now, diffraction is something that affects every lens at small apertures. It's not something that lens designers can eliminate or design around. You can't beat the laws of physics. So where you've got a lens that's at f5.6, its sharpness is only limited by diffraction, that's a sign of a really superb lens. And indeed, that's what this is, a really superb lens. It's got superb build quality. It's all metal and glass, brass, aluminium, and real glass, not plastic glass. Despite the quality build, it only weighs 250 grams. So it's not too heavy to carry around, and it has a 52mm filter size. I think I mentioned already it's got 8 elements in 8 groups. It's quite an old lens, this one. It was actually introduced in 1981, way back in the mists of time, before there were any digital cameras, and before even there was any autofocus cameras available. But it's still in production today. Now, it's quite unusual for a lens to remain in production for so long, especially a manual focus lens. It would not still be in production today if it was not such a superb lens and there wasn't a demand for it. There's still a market for this lens. Despite it being not heavily promoted by Nikon anymore, there's still people buying them. People in the know how good this lens is. You won't find it on sale at every camera shop. It's quite hard to find. I believe in the USA, B&H sell them in New York. In the UK, it is listed on the website of Greys of Westminster. They list a brand new price at £615, which is not cheap, admittedly. But if you consider the build quality, the unsurpassed image quality, and compare that price against some modern Nikkors, many of which are made of plastic and made in China, where this one is made in Japan, it starts to look good value. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend you buy a new one. The reason for that is, firstly, buying used is relatively safe with this lens. There's nothing to break on it. There's nothing to wear out. You just have to be sure it's in good condition, elements not scratched, it has no fungus, etc. I actually bought this one here, which you see mounted on my Nikon F5 film camera. I bought this on eBay from a seller based in Japan. I only paid £140 for it, plus taxes and shipping. That is superb value for money. You will probably find a fair number of them for sale in Japan on eBay. Generally speaking, it's fairly safe buying from Japan. Japanese sellers, in my experience, tend to be pretty trustworthy and honest. They do not, in my experience, exaggerate the condition of what they're selling. Obviously, when buying from eBay, take normal precautions. I cannot guarantee it'll be safe, but if you pay by PayPal, you should have no worries. If there's any problem with it or the item doesn't arrive, then you should be able to get a full refund. So eBay is the place to go. Also check out your local camera store that sells used equipment. Another good website to check out for used equipment is Ford's in the UK, based up in the Highlands of Scotland. Right, so there it is, one of the finest Nikon lenses ever made. Extremely useful on both full frame 35mm film and DX format digital cameras, and also a great option on mirrorless cameras with an adapter. Right, thank you for watching. I'm going to conclude this video by showing you some images I took myself with my own 28mm AIS lens. So please have a look at them. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to my channel. I will be posting more videos in the future. Thank you for watching. See you next time.